good morning and welcome to Gary's Graveyard Ramblings, number 12, I think. And we're in the back end, the arse end of the church, I think I like to say today, of the graveyard. And just say hello over there to Count Dracula. There he is over there, and the exclusive part of the ceremony, the cemetery over there, you see, and me over here. Now, as of I speak, this happens to be Midsummer Day, actually, or the summer solstice, as we call it in Sussex. Don't know what you call it elsewhere, but hey-ho. And so I thought something akin, something along a drift, something along a line of storytelling for the rambling today to do with midsummer. So we're going to talk about Christmas 1972, and a story that I was reminded of by a friend the other day whilst we were in the pub together, and I told this story in my autobiography. And so I thought, and it has always been one of my favourite stories. So I thought, we're here on Midsummer's Day, and this story is about the opposite, because it took place more or less on Midwinter's Day, although I'm bending the truth just a whimsy, because it was Christmas Eve, 1972. If I can take you back to that halcyon time, Christmas Eve, December the 24th, 1972. Little Jimmy Osmond was at number one in the UK charts, warbling in that rather strange, cracked Mormon broken voice of his, long-haired lover from Liverpool, which astonishingly stayed at number one for 5 weeks. And my story concerns the post office in Tunbridge Wells, where I'd managed to secure as a hard-up student a temporary job delivering special deliveries, letters and parcels and what have you in Tunbridge Wells town centre. A little bit of nepotism going on here, because it was all arranged for me by my Uncle Tom, who was a postman down there, and he got me this gig and said to me, this is going to be a fabulous job because you won't have to do very much doing special deliveries in the town centre. Now, that was fine, but remember, all the other temporaries who had been brought in to deliver Christmas cards to the streets around Tunbridge Wells and what have you were coming back into the sorting office with tales of huge tips of financial gain and benefit. And I was getting 9 5/8 of not much at all. So it wasn't really a particularly lucrative time for me. It was a very snowy winter. We don't get these anymore down here, by the way. You know that Albert Hammond saying it never rains in Southern California? Well, it never snows in Southern England anymore, thank you, global warming. And it was snowy, and it got to the end of Christmas Eve. I was a bit fed up because I'd had hardly any tips at all. Others were coming in like Lord Muck, flashing their cash and their coinage, and little me, bugger all. So I was just about to go home, and I noticed on the sorting office table there was a parcel addressed to a big house in Royal Chase off of Mount Ephraim in Tunbridge Wells, which was on my way home to the council estate where I lived. For Americans, that's Project. And so I said to the post, the guy there, I said, I'll take this one and deliver it on my way home, because, if I don't get a tip for this, there is no justice in this world. And he said, no, he said, Sodom, he said, don't bother with that, leave the bloody thing. So I said, no, it's all right, I'll take it, I'll deliver it. So I did indeed take this parcel out, and it was the final delivery of Christmas 1972. And I trudged up the hill, because Tunbridge Wells is a very hilly place. It's like the Alps. It's sort of Kent's answer to the Alps. And trudged up this hill to this house in Royal Chase, which was a beautiful, fabulously rich house with a big driveway and gates and what have you. So I opened the gates and walked up the drive to this fabulous front door and what have you, and I rang the doorbell, which rung out like a church steeple bell. And eventually I heard these timid footsteps coming to the front door, and this door opened. I wish I could say it was with a creak, but it wasn't. And the door opened, and there was this little old lady behind there, dressed up, to the nines there, and with a great dramatic flourish, I said to her, "There you are, madam. This is the last delivery out of Tunbridge Wells sorting office this Christmas," and presented her with her parcel. And she said, "Oh, do let me give you a little something." And I said, "Oh, that's quite all right. Merry Christmas then," she said, and slammed the door. I stood there in a state of aghastness and trudged home completely empty-handed. And when I got in, I was regaling the story to my mother, who was laughing hysterically. And she said, "You let that be a life lesson to you," she said. "Those people didn't get where they are today by giving out money." She said, "If someone offers you something, you take it." And of course, I eventually became an actor. So that was the story of my life. Back to Jimmy Osmond, just for a sec. By the way, that story is just one of a number of stories in my worst-selling book, Spangles, Gangoes and Tubes, which is probably still available at a charity shop, book bin near to you. Little Jimmy Osmonds, of course, that venerable family of Mormons, it was desperately uncool to like the Osmonds or Donny Osmond or Marie or any of the rest of them at that time, when I was heavily into Mark Bolan and T-Rex and all the other glam stuff. But one thing that always amused me about them, and they are, let's be honest, they're pretty likeable. And you can't not like any of the Osmonds, really, can you? Even though their religion's a bit... But what always amused me was they had a record label, their own record label, which was called Kolob, K-O-L-O-B, with a sort of a hand holding the earth in it. And I think that's something to do with the Mormon religion. Don't ask me, my darling. I have no idea. But it amused me because if you spell that word backwards, it spells bollock. And on that cheery note, I wish you happy summer solstice. Bye-bye.